Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
A life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. A life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day. Then you'll see the clouds every day.
Hey, welcome to The Crazy Life. I'm Brian. Joining me as usual is Heno.
Howdy.
Today we have a very special guest. We have Hillary joining us today.
Hi.
No Jen this week. She's, had some stuff in her personal life that kind of keep her from coming on here. But hopefully she'll be back next week, and we're just going to plug on without her this week and hope everything's okay for her and everything. So there.
And Hillary's a listener of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who have heard us talk about closing the podcast, yesterday's pizza, that is because of Hillary.
That.
Yep. Forever immortalized.
It was
Yes.
a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a life's lesson in one statement.
Yeah. It's all over, Buddhist scrolls and stuff now.
Precisely.
Yeah.
See that on a scroll.
Actually, yeah, we need Annalise's, live your omelet. That has to be on there.
Yeah.
And someday I'll figure out what that thing that Jeannie said that I combined once with live your omelet. Jeannie, if you're listening and if you can remember,
Yeah.
stole it from her. I just don't remember what it was.
Eventually you'll get it.
Someday.
Maybe.
Probably like right after the podcast.
No, it would have happened
I'd still
by now.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I'll never remember it because I have a terrible memory. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will not go back through that many Brian and Heno episodes and figure out which one it was.
Yeah, at least there's that. If it was just one you and I did, you could,
Well, it does cut it down a
cut
little
it down some, but still,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
bit within the last 2 years.
Yeah,
But
That's still a lot of podcasts.
because
That's a
we
lot.
were actually very consistent with once a week.
yeah. There's
pretty
only
much.
been a couple times where we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been only 1 or 2 times where it's been like just didn't happen.
And then I message you and go, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, those were you. Brian forgot to post it.
Or I was just
Gotta
lazy
go.
or headache
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, talking about headaches. I woke up yesterday morning.
No, let's go with yester morning. I like that much better.
Yesterday morning.
Yeah.
I woke up yesterday morning. I'm also going to refer to tomorrow as on the morrow.
Okay, that's fine.
That's a must.
That like a a distinguished gentleman, or what do you guys say it on salty language? A fancy gentleman?
Yes, a fancy gentleman.
A fancy gentleman?
Yeah.
On the morrow.
hmm
So yestermorrow, or
Wait a
whatever
minute.
it was.
Yester morning.
Yester morning.
Yeah.
Like I woke up with just a full on rager of a headache. It was so weird. Like just the minute I got up, it was like, oh, what is that? And why? You know? And it didn't wake me up normal. And it was just like, oh, this
All of a
is
sudden there was a
horrible.
break.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Right.
And it wasn't because I was drinking. Oh, I found this post on Facebook where I expressed gratitude for not waking up with a hangover. And the way I described it was something like an alpaca tongue and nettles in my eyes. And I can't.
Is that a Fall Out Boy song?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
nettles in the eyes? Or alpaca tongue?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Both, honestly. Yeah. Or if you put them together, it might be an old Panic at the Disco song. you
Yeah,
know?
that could be. Yeah.
I'd almost guarantee that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
So because of that, I had a very, very, very lazy morning.
Mm.
So I got yesterday off for a holiday, which would ordinarily have been today, but since Fridays are my days off, I got the day off before,
Oh, nice.
and which was nice.
hmm
And I figured I'm going to need to clean up the house for the appraisal for the loan, for the refinance.
Right.
So I was all ready to get a lot of stuff done. Now, I've gotten a couple things done in the last 2 days, but nowhere near what needs to be done at all. Like, not even close. I'm basically just kind of futzing.
You were taking a nap like an at work.
I was, but I was tired.
Self-care is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And we were watching Space Force, which was very funny.
I haven't started watching that yet.
It is really funny, and there's some good stuff in it.
Good.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. But I got my terms for my refinance yesterday, and the whole, electronic signature thing out. And my loan agent had pretty much put in every debt I have.
Even
All
the
of
$5 you owe the guy down the street?
Yeah,
No.
like seriously, there was one credit card on $13 balance.
Well, I guess,
I was
you're
like, what?
supposed to be forthcoming, but still.
Like they basically just took my whole credit report and just
Yeah.
put it down. And
I think
which
when
is
I
fine.
filed
It's-
bankruptcy, I think I had a credit card I owed like $25 on that was on there. Lawyer even was like, we really don't have to put this one on here. He's like, I assume you could pay that one off.
Yeah.
He's like, but we'll go ahead.
yeah, and it was just sakes of the option so that there's information that backs up the loan request.
Right.
But ultimately, what it comes down to is whatever my house appraises for, I can get a loan for 80% of the value. But the rate 3.38%,
Wow.
which is amazing. And
Wow.
so the
Jeez.
bottom line, and this was just me. Some of that is all like I'm carrying, like, it's Sharon's car, but I'm carrying Sharon's car, so that was on there. And I also transferred some of her credit card debt onto one of my old cards, so that's on there.
Yeah.
But I've pretty much figured out that if my house appraises for what I think it's for land alone, we can wipe out all of our debt, all of it,
Nice.
and my mortgage will go up maybe $500, maybe $400.
Hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Like it's a little like when I was looking at this, I'm like, wait a minute, this is everything.
Wow.
Like this is all gone with a signature.
Right.
And it was a little bit like, now I'm all gone. Things which don't need to be absorbed on a 30-year mortgage.
Yeah.
Like I have some no interest, like my music gear. I pay that off with my gig money, and it's no interest, so there's no that on there. We'll pull that off.
Yeah.
We'll take care of some. But and also I kind of need that reminder of like I don't want it all gone, right? Like I am not. There's a reason it's where it's at, is because I have bad habits. I don't need it all. Like there's, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if it just gets all, I haven't changed my behavior yet, really.
Right.
I mean, I need something to remind me that this is not over, right? That there's still something that, because it's a little weird.
I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying like, right. Like, you've got like somebody who, like they got the weights on their, they're like shackled and they're just pulling like these weights or whatever. And someone's like, hey, we can pretty much free you up. And you're like, no, just put a smaller one on.
It's kind of like that. So this comes back to a mental health thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deserve it.
Right. That's kind of what I was getting at. Was like, yeah, it was like, no, leave me with something. I'm still a bad boy.
Here was the weird part about it, was the reality of, okay, so I'm 51, a 30-year loan, 81. So I'm dead.
Sure, maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, but more than likely.
Okay.
Or I'm at least in a hospital somewhere.
Yeah.
Either way. My dad made it to 83. My mother's parents made it to almost 90. It's a long-lived family.
Right.
But because the whole point of this was I was really happy that Sean was thinking in these terms, is we can wipe out all your debt, get rid of all those things, and you can make, and you'll have a $30,000 payment on your house, and you'll have it paid off in X amount of, so many years. And he's like, he was all excited. He's like, I just paid off my mortgage in April. And it was such a relief. And I was like, well, you're 30 something and have children. I'm 50 and have no kids.
Yeah.
My nephews are 2 states away. What? Why do I want to? I mean, like, who cares?
Yeah, you're not.
Right?
You don't.
I'm looking at it as like a really good rent.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, the bank just takes the house.
Right.
And whatever's left.
I think that mentality is why so many people have gone for the reverse mortgage thing.
Well, that's it.
A bunch of money right now, and you're like, what do I care? I'm dead, and I'm not going to leave the house to anybody. Who cares?
Yeah.
So,
that's why, like, I know a lot of people who dump a lot of money into making their payments, and then knowing that when they retire, they're just going to out.
Yeah.
So, but the one thing I am looking forward to is actually out through work, which I've always wanted to do. I just wanted to do more of that.
Yeah.
And so I can do that. So everything's looking really good. Now it's just a matter of us. It's pretty much just Sharon and I sitting down and figuring out, because we need to make behavior adjustments, and we need to do, we have to decide what goes, and how it all works out. So
right.
Anyhow, it's one of those reminders where I have to feel very good, and I have to do the old self pat on the back that I'm in this situation because I made some decisions. And now I get to reap the benefits of those decisions. And this was something that a friend of mine reminded me when I was doing the 12-step program for Debtors Anonymous. And we sat down and it's called a pressure relief group. And you literally lay out all your finances in front of 2 people who have done this before, which was really gnarly.
I bet, because most people don't lay out their stuff in front of anybody unless it's an advisor or something like that.
Financial advisor, or like in this case, I sent my credit report was open to this loan agent, right?
Yeah, right.
That's but these are people that I know that I interact with, so it's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
But because of they're the ones though that pointed out, because you have to put all your liabilities, right, and all your assets and everything in there, and they said they pointed right at my how much I had in my retirement account. They're like, oh, look at that. You need to be happy about that, because I was just looking at this burden of debt going, I'm a total loser. They're like, look at that. Look what you have towards your retirement, and look at what you have here, and look at this decision that you made that is going to enable you to go. That's how I ended up with my second on my house, which is why I'm doing the refi, is because I bought this house and I was in a position to take out a second burden.
Yeah.
And it was like, I need to remind me that that's a good thing, and I should be happy about it. And I should feel good about that, and not just beat myself up over the debt part. And it's always good to have that. And again, this is a reminder of like, even though I'm having a little bit of that, I'm not worthy, it's also like, wow, look, I'm in a position where I can do that. And other things are lining up economically, which are out of my control, but it's all working out this way. And this will be a big deal. So.
You say you're not worthy, but you put yourself in that position.
But yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So it's that's where I need that other. At least now I have that other voice in my head, because somebody told me that I should have that voice in my head. Is that the reason I can do this is because of some decisions that I made.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm not perfect. Things to work on, but there's a lot to be. That's my win for the week. That I'm able to do this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of people that would, love to have the opportunity to do that. So yeah, you're right. You gotta definitely recognize that and, keep that in perspective while you're self-flagellating, So.
As I'm raising my hand in the background.
Yeah.
Check a...
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my week in a nutshell. How about you?
My week's been pretty quiet except for yesterday. I spent a few hours at an urgent care with my mom because she's been taking her blood pressure, and when she's been feeling kind of weird, so she called. I told her to call the doctor because you don't want to screw around with diabetic, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't like her sugar crashing or anything like that. The doctor or whoever she talked to told her that the numbers were low and that she should go to an urgent care, that they might want to do like an EKG or something. And, so we went, she talked with a doctor there and we sat for a while. And then the doctor was like, well, I'm going to have them check your sugar and do some chest x-rays. And I'm like, chest x-rays? And then, I asked him, I just straight up was like, well, chest x-rays for what? And he was like, I just want to make sure that they're like, nothing is enlarged or, that there's congestion or anything along those lines going on. Make sure it's not like a pneumonia or something. So like, oh, okay. And, so they do it and everything. And we, wait, wait. Like about an hour later, they come in and, whatever. Relatively no big deal. So I'm not going to get into exactly what it was because, it's really nobody's business. But it was, a huge relief. It's the worst part of that stuff is we're sitting there and it's like, you're just worrying because it's like, my mom's 73, and I'm, any little thing that goes on with her, can be worrisome like that. And it also seemed like it was something that just wasn't regulate itself, So, anyway, she seems to be doing okay today and everything, whatever. But then last night I was watching TV and I just all of a sudden just felt like I was going to get sick. And I'm one of the type of people that usually I don't feel like I'm going to get sick unless I'm going to get sick. Like I don't usually get queasy very often, but when I do, it's my percentage is pretty high. And I'm like, oh man, cause I hate getting sick so much. Cause I'm a very, powerful, vomiter. Sorry for being graphic to those listening. Like,
you do it with authority.
oh, dude, it's
The way you said that sounds like something you would put on a resume. That's terrible.
Well,
Yeah.
like Sharon's like that. Like I hate to say it, but I just hear it and I'm like,
oh, it's terrible.
like that's a lot of.
Yeah, if I get sick the next day, I feel like I've been through a car accident. Like, it's brutal. Okay, I'm trying to think what movie it was. I can't think of it now. There was a movie where, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when he's faking,
yeah.
like, it's basically like that. And anyway, so last night I'm like, oh man, and so I'm trying to focus on my breathing, try to, calm my nerves down, all this other stuff. And I ended up, I don't know if something I ate didn't agree with me or if it was just like a touch of food poisoning. But for a while, I just felt like I was going to get sick, and I did a little bit, but it wasn't terrible. But it was still like, and it was hours before I felt any better. But that's why I said I don't know exactly what happened, but or I don't know, maybe it was nerves from the whole day or something. I don't know, but whatever it was horrible. So, yesterday was a real flusher of a day. So, like,
Yikes.
yeah, but today everything's back to normal and whatever. And, I got up and I made dinner tonight, which I haven't really been doing recently. So that kind of felt good to do again. And not just like, oh, here's something out of a box, like I actually, made, cut up and made up salads and then, cooked dinner and everything. So, I was like, yeah, this, every time I do it, I'm always like, I need to do this more. And then I'll go like 2 weeks and not do it hardly at all. Like I'll fall back into what's easiest when I open the cabinet or the fridge or whatever. So yeah, that's been about it for my week. I really haven't done much else. It's just been it's been 90 plus here for about a week, and it looks like by Tuesday it might be near 100 and humid, and yeah, so it's just been brutal outside, so it's just like, well, I guess being anyway, so here we are. I will say this, the weirdest thing for me yesterday was when I first walked into that urgent care, because I've really gone out of my way to, like, I don't want to go to the doctor's office. I don't want to go anywhere where where people sick with COVID have gone, kind of a thing. And I know the grocery store, there's a good percentage of it and all that kind of stuff, but it's different, like when you go into a doctor's office or a hospital kind of thing, you're like, I know someone in here is, and sure enough, the nurse we had actually was like, yeah, we've had a few people in here with it. And immediately my anxiety wants to go, run, but, staying calm under that. And overall yesterday, I was pretty calm through the whole thing, which I actually was pretty happy about. I made sure I took, some of my anxiety meds with me in case I needed them, but I ended up needing them. So, yeah, that's my win, I guess.
Yeah, how was that for you? You were in the hospital a lot for the last couple of weeks.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
Being that I have asthma and going in all the time, I'm high risk anyways.
Yeah.
And so it's like I've got my mask on and I just want to like pull my hood up over my face and close the strings.
Yeah.
Don't look at me. Don't breathe near me. It'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, I imagine so. I have allergies. I don't have like I have issues with breathing at times, but not to a threatening type of situation or anything. But it was, like I said, for me, just walking in, it just felt so weird walking into a place like that. Just having that knowledge, because like I said, everything in my head was just yelling, run.
Don't blame you.
Yeah.
I hear anybody so much as sneeze while I'm in there and I'm like, go away.
Spraying them in the face with Lysol or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, get back.
But like it felt pretty, like when you were having your bandage redone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it felt different because they're medical professionals. Like there was something about it that was somewhat reassuring, I guess.
Yeah.
Versus.
I saw all of them use hand sanitizer repeatedly.
Yeah, that's
too.
the thing. Yeah.
And so that made me feel a little bit better.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I finally got back to my chiropractor, and that, I just know that they're doing good protocols in the office.
Like using Hulk hands and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who doesn't use Hulk hands?
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone should.
But
be
there
great.
there was this one moment. So the front desk, the office manager, I think that's the appropriate term, because she's literally everything. She's reception, she's books, she's booking, she's financial stuff too. So she's basically the office manager. She runs the office. I would call her a friend. It's not like we call each other up on weekends and say, hey, going, that kind of thing. But she's definitely a friend. And she was setting me up on the massage, the water, thing, just to get a nice little warm up, the water massage device. And we were walking in the back, and she's like, I'm like, oh, I have time. She's like, yeah, he's running late. He's always doing so good. He's doing so good. And then all of a sudden he just blows it. And then she started saying something else about, and 10 minutes and it's freaking all done. And I'm like, are we talking about Aaron or are we talking about sex? And, I said, are we talking about Aaron and his chiropractic? We're talking about his sex life. And she started laughing, and it sounded like she needed a laugh.
Yeah.
Like I can tell that for her, like we usually kind of, shoot the stuff a little bit before and after the appointment. I can just tell it just wasn't the right time to do it anymore, because she's so conscientious of keeping appointments going so you don't have people bunched up.
Yeah.
Disinfecting the office. Like there's a lot to go on. And she just started laughing and turned around and threw up the hand for the high five.
Oh.
And it was the first time I've had to experience this.
Yeah.
Like, cause we don't like nothing at work. Like there's not even, we avoid each other like the plague.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, and I'm like, oh, I can't leave her hanging, hit the high five, and we both walked out and hit the sanitizer. But it felt good. It was like such a human moment. I really appreciated that Nicole did that. Like she just like, here, like she laughed and threw it up, and I was like, it felt nice.
Yeah.
Some normalcy.
Yeah. I know it is funny when you have those moments. Now it's like you have that where it's like, man, that felt good, but then like I always have that guilt that follows it, with like, I really shouldn't have done that, or shouldn't have been.
That was what
doing?
happened. Yeah. Like I had that moment, and I'm like, oh, just get over yourself.
Yeah.
It's not like you're not going to grab the hand sanitizer. Well, and here's another one. I get to rehearsal on Thursday last night, and it's just me, Tom, and Jason. And I said, I just need to say this out loud. I know where we're playing music is a good layout. Like they have tables that are spread apart. There's never a ton of people there. I know people are outside dining anyway, right? And we're just entertained and I just know the layout is good. But I was like, I feel a little bit wrong about we're part of an event that has people congregate in a pandemic.
Right.
And I said, I just need to say that out loud. And it was nice that Jason said, and Tom both were been like, I've thought about that myself. Like, I feel like I'm doing my part I'm being part of the problem, not the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a little, I don't think I have to feel that way, but it's just a little bit of feeling like, why am I doing something that brings people together in a way that might not be safe?
Right.
But more than likely is fine. It's outdoors. Like I said, the people are at the tables are either family or close.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
That I'm still not sure where I'm at with it. I mean, we're going to still do the gig. I mean, like we're fine on stage. It's not, there's no effect on us at all, but
yeah,
it just feels, something about it just feels wrong in light of everything that's going on right now.
Yeah, that's understandable, because I can see where you feel like you're contributing to the problem, like you said. So I get it.
Oh, I had something that happened, and now I'm spacing on it what it was because I wanted to talk about it on the podcast. Huh. It's obviously not that important.
Another thing you'll remember as soon as
Yes,
the
as soon as
podcast
it was
is done.
over. Yeah. Well, anyhow, since we have a guest,
Hmm.
hi guest.
Hello.
So now, Hillary, you have listened to the podcast.
So many times. Love this podcast.
Thank you.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
We appreciate you listening.
Mhm.
Always.
You deal with mental health issues, and so do you mind telling us a little bit about when you were first diagnosed, what age, and did you know it beforehand, when you were younger? Just kind of tell us your story about when it first, how you and what you were diagnosed with.
I kind of knew it a little bit growing up. A lot of the depression signs that you would see, all I wanted to do is sleep growing up. Like, didn't want to go out, didn't want to do anything. I read and I slept. Wacky teenager.
I hear ya, yeah.
They're real rebellious there.
Out
Right.
of control. I don't know how my mom handled me. And so, like, I had asked my mom a few times, but she didn't really have any interest in, I guess, taking me in. I feel bad saying that, but it's kind of the vibe I got from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once I was an adult, I got married and everything, and I started noticing it again worse shortly after my daughter was born. At the time, it was just postpartum, but it didn't go away afterwards.
Mm.
So I went in and I got tested, and sure enough, anxiety, depression, got put on anxiety meds, got put on depression meds, and I've been on them ever since.
Was it a relief for you? Like learning, like was it affirming of like maybe something that you've always thought?
A little bit, yeah. Like, it was a little overwhelming at first because it's like you hear all the stigma about people who have depression and anxiety, and it was like, great.
Hmm.
It was like overwhelming to learn that, oh, good, I have this too. And so it was a little weird, finally figured out, but at the same time, getting that help that I needed and being able to get on those meds that helped so much. Like, it was such a relief as I was able to be up and doing more things with my daughter. And when I'm off my meds, I'm usually really cranky, and it just wasn't fair to her, and I hated it. So I could be a happier mom to my kid, and that made me a lot happier.
And did you do counseling at the same time?
I did for a short while, but due to the fact that I work graveyards and take care of my kid, and then I got divorced, I couldn't keep going. And so, unfortunately, I had to stop after a while, but the meds helped a ton, and I started looking into other ways to kind of, and journaling, and you guys talked about the mental health challenge that I did.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do those from time to time when I'm feeling a little extra down. Kind of helps me to remember, things that make me happy. And
Yeah, that's something that I bring up a lot is when I know I'm getting off, I need to go back to what got me, my life to change in the beginning. Like, I need to go back to those fundamentals of those first 6 months of learning. Is that kind of like what you do with those challenges too? It's like kind of go back to the beginning.
yeah, kind of the beginning of the journey of figuring out that I have it and everything. And it kind of forces me to look at more of the things that bring me joy in life and the things that really bother me and the things that I really need to work on. I'm really bad about thinking myself into a depression.
Yeah, I hear you on
All
that. Yeah.
All right, describe that.
Describe that to people and actually have it make sense. I will sit and, like, if I'm left alone with my thoughts, I'll just think about everything that's just driving me crazy and weighing on me, and it will think me into a depression low. And that's when I start to go back to the base and we'll do the mental health challenges and So
in some ways, it's like me with like music. If I'm in a downer mood and I just want to get even downer, then you turn on the downer music,
Yep.
and you just
I
run with it.
I actually have a depression playlist.
Oh, no.
You know,
Not even gonna lie.
So we need to do the music episode.
yeah. I actually think most people with depression, I think most of us do have that depression playlist that, it's, or some have multiple, like you were saying, whether you want to lean into it or it's like, okay, I need something more upbeat to try to, help my mood or whatever. I think a lot of us have something like that. So that's helped me quite a few times.
Well, like I hear people who will say that's a terrible idea and not to do that and stuff, but honestly, crying it out sometimes can be really cathartic.
Yep.
Like, there's just days where I need to bawl it out, and I get through that. I get done crying, and I feel her. And I don't know. I always think I'm weird for that.
No, you're right. There's a lot of people that are that way. It's very much, I don't know. It's like a lot of times it's like just how we're purging those feelings or whatever at the time. Sometimes, like I listen to, like aggressive metal music when I'm in that kind of mood a lot of times, and I just kind of feel like I'm essentially screaming it out. So I get it. It's like, I think we all process it, in whatever way we need to, just to get that stuff out of our head, like you said, or journaling or whatever it is. It's like we have these thoughts and it's like we need somewhere for them to go that isn't in our like main
Get
thoughts.
them out of your head so that they're not weighing on you so much.
Right. So.
Well, and I think that's that fine line we talk a lot about. Like we want to talk about solutions so you can move forward from your problems, but we also talk about being in the moment and being with your feelings. Mm-hmm. Because for every time you want to say, well, act as if, I just don't feel I've never felt it's realistic to tell someone, oh, the minute you feel down, you should start working on it to not feel, down, or the minute you feel anxiety, you should start working on the things to not feel anxiety. There's a part of me that believes, I believe you should feel your anxiety, you should feel your doubts or your whatever it is, and then when it's right, start making those steps to get out of it. The part where it's the act as if is, to me, is like when it's something that's more extended, where okay, I'm not getting out of these feelings that I'm in. Like if it's a legitimate thing, like, oh, you lost a family member, right? Mm-hmm. So that's not going to go away in a day. That's going to go with you. Then I think you do have to apply the as if kind of stuff. You do have to show up for work and have somewhat of a happy face. People will be understanding. You'll say, look, this happened in my life. If I seem a little different, this is why I do not feel this way, but I have to feel how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That actually reminds me of a quote. It's not until you face it till you make it.
No. Well, that goes with what we said last week with the what did it say at the end of it is you have to fight your, remember the writer for the bipolar anger is that you have to fight it.
Yeah.
Like that's what he said. You have to go to battle with this.
Yep.
And that's kind of that same thing.
Yeah, same like depression and stuff too, and anxiety, whatever it is that your person's dealing with. It's most of it. It's it's always hanging around, even if it's not directly in your face. It's always hanging around, but you always have to. It's kind of like you get like gnats or flies or something, and they just won't leave you alone. You keep swatting at them, and you just keep doing it because if you don't, they're gonna annoy you even more or whatever. And it's just kind of it's like that, except more like if a gorilla was flying around you instead.
Yeah, lovely.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah,
that's anxiety-inducing by itself. Wow.
So now you recently have gone back.
Yes.
And been reassessed, and things have changed. So do you mind sharing that?
I haven't gotten the official diagnosis yet, But after the assessment, my counselor looked at me and was like, well, honestly, I have to say you are bipolar. You have BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. And then you've also got PTSD.
Now, I don't see you as a mania person.
You don't see it, but it happened.
Okay, that's why I'm asking. Well, that's why I'm asking, because
Right.
I haven't experienced that.
You've heard about it a little bit. I've texted you before in the middle of it. Remember that time I cleaned my house, like the whole thing in 13
Oh,
hours?
yeah. You
Yeah.
did the whole house. Okay, yeah.
My
yeah.
entire
No, you're right.
apartment.
You're right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you literally did the apartment, and you actually did your daughter's room, which actually was
My
like,
daughter's
what?
room, my room, everything. I deep cleaned my place in 13 hours. Did not stop
Okay.
in that time.
Yeah.
I was starving by the end of it. I hadn't had really much to drink during that time. I went manic and I was like, I'm going to clean my whole house.
And I think those are good things that you pointed out there about the, not eating and barely drinking, because a lot of people, Jen has talked about that with her mania, because she's done the same thing, like the exact same thing, where she will just clean the whole place. And people don't understand that it's not like, oh, well, at least it's something positive. You get to clean your house. It's like, no. I'm not practicing self-care in that time.
Yeah.
That's
not
not
true,
okay.
right?
Redlining is not okay. As far, like pushing, your body just goes full tilt one way. That's like, that isn't good to sustain that, so it's, much like, we're always stressing about, how depression is all the time. And, like there's these different things, and it's like, it's so much more extreme than just a little, oh, I'm just a little hyper, air quote, today, or whatever. So.
And you were given a possible remedy or a behavioral remedy that I'd never heard of before. So what was that again?
It's called DBT. I ended up having to Google it because I was not 100% sure what it was. Let me see if I can still pull it up. Dialectical behavior therapy. Google says that it is an evidence-based psychotherapy that began with efforts to treat borderline personality disorder. There is evidence that DBT can be useful in treating mood disorders, suicidal ideation, and for change in behavioral patterns such as self-harm and substance abuse.
So because people that I know that have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder told me that it's a weird kind of a gray area where you're not that, so they don't have concrete solutions for that. So is this supposed to be to kind of help fill in those blanks for?
I think so. There's not quite a med that you could take for BPD. It's you're taking meds for other things in hopes that it helps.
Because the one thing my friend that I interact with that has the degrees in counseling and all that stuff, she talks about that personality disorders, that those are things that are treatable. And I never understood that. Like she'll say if, for example, is suffering from a mental illness, and she's jumped in and said, no, they don't have a mental illness. They have a personality disorder, which means it's a lot more difficult for them to change or get treatment or that kind of a thing. And now it's kind of clicking for me. It's like, oh yeah, it's a personality disorder. That's why it's not as easy.
Yeah.
And it is important to make that distinction, because, like I was just saying a bit ago, is people want to lump everything under mental illness, and there's different levels, and we talked last week about kind of how each one has its own scale and all other stuff. So
it's a spectrum.
It is very important to know, like you said, that with personality disorders, they are their own thing, and they're very difficult to moderate or control sometimes. And not that mental health or mental illness isn't, but there's a difference in the two as well.
Well, it was interesting that definition included drug and alcohol, because there's a lot of personality disorder with alcoholism. in that there is no pill you can take. I mean, yeah, there are
Yeah.
pills you can take that goes to your body,
Yeah.
but it doesn't do anything for the personality parts of it.
Yeah.
And that's why there's a lot of difficulty with addiction, with all the various types of addiction and modifying that, because there's behavioral aspects to it, but there's other stuff it's not just behavior. It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're because the cognitive therapy, that's a very
CBT,
right?
Yeah.
All right. So you brought up, Brian, you found an article about the what was it again?
Dialectical behavior therapy.
Yeah. And there's
So what is there a little nuts and bolts kind of like, what do they do?
let's see here. There's 4 modules to it. It says there's, the first one is teaching mindfulness. The next one is interpersonal effectiveness, which is how you interact with people around you in your relationships. It says these skills that they teach you include asking what one needs, how to assertively say no, and learning to cope with inevitable conflict. It sounds like, from what I kind of skimmed earlier, is most of these things have to do with trying to help you regulate certain emotion and shifts in or not in personality, but like as your emotions surge one way or the other or whatever, it changes our behavior. So this is a way to kind of, much like depression or anxiety or this other, it's like when you if you can kind of feel it, you can get out in front of it, basically. The next one says distress tolerance. It says most treatments focus on changing distressing events and circumstances, but not a lot of attention's paid to accepting, finding meaning for, and tolerating distress. This task has generally been tackled by religious and spiritual communities and leaders. Dialectical behavior therapy emphasizes learning to bear pain skillfully.
See, that sounds so much to me like 12-step programs for alcoholism and addiction.
Yeah, I think that's why they mentioned the religious and
the religion part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So cognitive therapy would be something that's typically used for like for you, Brian, like the fear of being in a vehicle.
Yes.
Where they slowly introduce you to a vehicle or an airplane or whatever it is, right?
Right. Or like when you freak out because whatever, making sure you keep grounding yourself. I'm safe. Everything's, like those kind of things, bringing you back to the present, keeping you right here instead of letting your.
So this sounds like, in a way, it's like cognitive therapy for dealing with other humans.
It does, actually. Well, in the last part, it says emotional regulation, which I kind of talked about already. But it says people with BPD or who may be suicidal are typically emotionally intense, frequently angry, intensely frustrated, depressed, and anxious. This suggests that people grappling with these concerns might benefit from help in learning to regulate their emotions. It says, the skills for emotion regulation include learning to properly identify and label emotions, identifying obstacles to changing emotions, reducing vulnerability to emotion mind, increasing positive emotional events, increasing mindfulness to current emotion, taking opposite action, and applying distress tolerance techniques.
That's heavy.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to read more about this, I'll have the link to this, which at the very bottom of it, they have related articles. One of them is the difference between CBT and DBT.
Oh, perfect.
Using DBT for adults or with depression, and then also for like adult ADHD. And there's probably more too, but that's just what I'm seeing at the bottom.
I'll definitely be checking those out.
That's heavy, that level of emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Like getting in, because it's interesting. The people that I know that have had someone in their life with borderline personality disorder is they talked more about the emotional stuff than anything else. So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like that innate emotions.
Right.
That don't sound like me. Thought you guys were talking about me directly.
Well, all right. So here's one for here's another question. Like for me, when I walked into the first time I walked into a recovery hall, and I picked up literature and I saw some stuff and I had something read and I was like, oh wow, like it was so like they're talking about me, and I instantly knew I'm in exactly the right place.
Yeah.
Whether I was ready or not, I was willing to acknowledge that they were speaking to me.
Yeah. I had that when I listened to a podcast where a guy talked about agoraphobia. And as he was describing, that he's gone through about, how he didn't drive and how he's got these different fears and how he only feels safe in his house. And then it became more like just in his room. And I was listening and I'm like, dude. I'm like, oh boy, I got to talk to somebody about this because.
So do you get that same thing with Brian reading that right now?
So much. Like, I did a little bit of research after I left the appointment that day because I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started reading it, I was like, oh, man, does that answer some questions?
Been there a bunch of times.
That's why we talk about go in and get the estimate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And while you're getting the estimate, nah. But if there's a kernel of truth in there, it'll find a way.
Well, like when I've been in therapy, the therapist, there's been a few times where she'll be like, we'll be talking and she'll be like, have you heard of this technique or this or this? And there's been a few she's brought up and I'm like, yeah, and that won't work for me. And I'll tell you why, and she's like, oh, okay, kind of a thing. And it's not that I'm like, excuse. It's like, no, I know myself. This is not going to work for me. Certain things don't, like, I need things lined up a certain way for my brain to really go, yes. And if it doesn't line up that way, my brain's going to instead try to figure out how to line it up the way I need it so that I can work with it. And
it's going to look for the loopholes.
Well, yeah. And it's going to frustrate me because it's not logical in my brain. It's like, it's not working. So it's like, it's hard for me to go into it. And I have a pretty open mind about whenever, she suggests stuff. I'll at least, she gave me one where it was like, hey, whenever you feel these emotions, write it down. And I'm like, look, I'm never going to do that. Like, I just know me. That's not going to happen. I can't do that. And even if I do, what's going to end up happening is if I have to write each emotion down and analyze it in that aspect, I'm going to overanalyze it. And it's going to turn into a problem for me. So I'm better kind of, let's maybe try something different. Like recognizing it, stopping and trying to process it in the moment is cool. I'm all for it. But to put it on paper and view it and then analyze, that's where I start getting in trouble because my brain will go, well, yeah, but then, and I'll start nitpicking every little detail until it's 4 hours later and I'm still doing it. So, and in the meantime, I've beaten myself up like crazy. So in the end, it's like, that wasn't a positive step,
Do you think if you ever...
And for the record, I did try it. I did give it the old college go, I didn't just immediately poo-poo it. I did try it for a few days, and it just, it was a bad move for me.
So, like, would you try it? It really felt like, well, if you really got to a place where you weren't finding the relief you needed, would you try it again, or would you?
No, I would definitely, because I mean, by this point, pretty well. Like I said, I've really tried to approach my treatment with as much of an open mind as I can. And even if something doesn't work right now, it might not be that the technique is wrong. It might just be that the time is wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen that. Yeah. You and I have talked about stuff where I'm like, 6 months ago, if I would have blah, 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 that wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have worked. Yeah. But right now it's working.
Now
for
it
me.
Works.
Yeah.
I'm the right size now.
Yeah. So. So true. Or I still like that. I've been beaten into a sense of reasonableness.
Yeah.
And it's usually one that's doing the beating.
Given me, that's a more reasonable statement.
Yeah. I find that with addiction is probably the most is the underlying truth is you eventually just get beaten to a sense of where you're reasonably open-minded or you're willing to try something.
Yeah. Well, that was my thing originally. It was like I told my doctor at one point when she was like, like, oh, I can't believe how open your mind, you are open-minded you are about stuff. And, and I told her, I was like, well, you have to understand, I've beaten myself up so much. I'm so miserable that I'm willing to do basically anything to fix this because I can't live like this anymore, So it's like you were just saying, it's like I've beaten myself into a point that, it's like, listen, and I'm just shaking myself the whole time until finally I'm like, okay.
All I'm picturing is him shaking.
I mean, pretty much.
That's rare.
Yeah.
Solid analogy.
Man, if only it was that easy, I'd shake myself once a day and just get rid of that stuff. That'd be great.
Clear it out, yeah. So are you going to be doing more counseling?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to be continuing with that.
And on what frequency are you doing it?
Once a week. I go every Wednesday.
And are you seeing someone that you'd seen before?
No.
So it's somebody new.
Yes.
And it was your first time.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. Like that, was there any question? Did you ever think like, I want to go see somebody else, or did it just work, or what? How did you approach it?
I had something happen with my daughter, and it led me to this counselor.
So it just happened to be circumstances, and it felt right, and there was never a question.
Yeah.
Okay. That's lucky.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Like that's how it happened for me too. Like my therapist was like, wow, this was perfect. And then of course afterwards I found out why it was perfect.
Yeah.
You learn, but that's
Yeah.
great.
Right.
Well, and this was the interesting thing that I've heard from people, and especially with people that are dealing with BPD, is that their BPD creates resistance to counseling, and they keep looking for new counselors, and so they never really get into a solution because their ism.
Oh,
The personality part of it clashes with the counselor all the time. And so they're constantly saying, I need somebody else. This isn't working out. I need somebody else. This isn't working. I need somebody else. This isn't working.
So you sabotage yourself the whole time.
Yeah. The BPD is preventing you from actually getting the treatment because it's actually forcing you to leave one person from the other because of those interpersonal things.
Huh. Interesting.
And when I heard that, I was just like, it like crushed my soul. Because I was like, how do you ever get help?
Right.
Like and most counselors are like that. They'll be very accommodating. They're like, hey, if you don't feel like it's working out, we'll find somebody else.
Yeah.
But is there some point where they finally say, no, you have to stick with this? But people have their choices.
That's a good question. I'd like to know the answer to that because, and I don't, like Jeannie usually listens. If she listens, maybe she can let us know, kind of from her perspective or something. I'm very curious of that too because, that concept, the only problem is if you give someone an ultimatum, they may make a choice.
They may bolt.
Yeah. And they go, okay, fine. And then they just never show up again.
Yeah.
And that's no good either, so that's a tough, I wonder how that goes. What the technique is at that point to try to help somebody get past that hurdle.
Yeah. If they're constantly rotating from one therapist or counselor to another.
Right.
Like how do you break that cycle?
Yeah.
I definitely hope I don't do that. I've been wanting to get in counseling for years since my mom passed.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So what prevented it? It was just like scheduling and finances. Okay.
Finances. Yeah. I have not had insurance.
See, that's the thing that we talk about. There's nothing that makes me more upset than Tree is that people who need mental health can't get it I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I'll never understand it.
And so many of us cannot, like, you can't win this fight on your own generally. You know,
and how could
especially not when you get into personality disorders, because those don't typically get better. You know, like we've talked with Jen about her bipolar and stuff. You know, it's like bipolar doesn't generally get better; generally gets worse time. So it's like unless you get medicine and help, you know, you're telling these people, oh well. You know, and it's just, yeah, I'm with you. You know, it just
it's where I
enrages
jump
me.
on a soapbox instantly.
Me too.
In a second, when it's like, all right, just not even talking about medical health, but just all aspects of addiction, mental health, whether it's medicine, treatment, even just simply being able to talk to a professional. That our country, being as rich as we are, we can't take care of this, just a segment of our population. And it's a pretty big segment.
Yeah.
Like when you start looking at the data, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
And that ties back in with the stigma too. Then, I mean, we have the data on the people that have actually accepted where they're at. Then there's all those people out there that won't even talk about it because of stigma.
Yeah. They haven't got there yet. I've had, I mentioned that on
need
here
help too.
About how I've had so many people tell me, you know, that how brave I am for just being open about it. And in my head, it's just like, you know, especially at this point, I'm just very much like, yeah, okay. You know, like it doesn't seem special to me, but I understand it. And then I stop and remember what it was like at one point where I didn't talk to anyone about this at all. You know, like I barely talked to, you know, my partner at the time about it, and she would have been more understanding than anybody, and I kept so much to myself, you know, because that's the nature of the beast. And when you add stigma to that, you know, it makes it even harder. And at the time, financially, I couldn't go, so you add that on top of it. You know, it's like, so I'm looking at all these reasons or excuses, however, whichever side of the coin you want to take it at. And, you know, you end up just going, well, why bother? Like, there's no point. I can't do anything. So you just resign. You're resigned to just suffer, which is horrible. You know, you know, like the idea of, I mean, you know, but, you know, I could go on a huge soapbox about a few things. Like, you know, like how do we let people go, you know, not have a house? How do we let people that don't have food? You know, like how can we just let people suffer? I don't understand it. You know, like not having everything is one thing, but how do you just not let people have, you know, healthcare and food and a shelter of some sort? It's like, come on, we can do way better than that.
Yep.
All right, I'll step down off the soapbox now.
Yeah, and speaking of stepping down off of soapboxes, so I decided to take a leave from Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
while the advertisers were doing it.
Oh, interesting. All right.
And not that it's any big statement. It was just it was an opportunity. It was something I wanted to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, well, okay, now's a good time. And here's the interesting thing. So I found out that on Facebook, you can basically temporarily deactivate your account. So I did that. Then Instagram was easy too. Just going on, it was basically you just kind of log out from it.
Yeah.
But the weird thing was Messenger. They said you have to first deactivate your Facebook account, and then you can go into Messenger and deactivate that. But what happened when I went into Messenger and did that, it actually took my Facebook from a temporary deactivation and turned it into a permanent deletion.
Really?
But it only goes for, it's 30 days, right? I got an email saying, the first email I got said, you're temporarily deactivating your account, right? Then the next email said, we have started the process of permanently deleting your account. And all I have to do is log in before July 31st. And it's all there, right?
Oh,
Nothing goes away.
Okay.
All I got to do is log in, and we'll see, because I have a gig coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's honestly one way that I can communicate with people locally about gigs is through a Facebook account. So I'm going to have to pop back on. But it's been a great experiment for me to see how much it's a source of It's not a source of news, but it's a source of interaction.
Yeah.
And boy, is it a source of me venting.
You vent on Facebook?
Yeah, me? No,
No.
not
Yeah.
me. That's
Not
because
you.
that's
Yeah.
it's my place where I can soapbox.
Yeah.
And I'm very open with it. I'm like, if you don't like what I say, then you don't want to follow me.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so that leaves me with the Twitter account. So if you do want to get a hold of me, you can find me at Ida Heno on Twitter. You're on Twitter, right, Hillary?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, what's your at?
Oh,
Just to look it up.
I don't even know. I want to say like fancy potato.
You're Fancy Potato.
I think so.
That seems right
Double check.
from what I remember. But again, we've noted at least twice now my memory's not necessarily trustworthy. So
Yep. The fancy potato.
Ah,
Is it the Fancy Potato?
no,
I mean, it's my first and last name at the at, but
Oh, are so you're the where I have L Hummingbird,
Yeah.
you're the Fancy Potato,
yes.
but your ad is actually your name.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right. Cool.
I see.
Mhm.
Yep.
If anybody wants to look me up, I have bright pink hair. So I just changed my picture.
And it's working.
Yep.
So we recorded we did another song episode from Moving the Needle podcast. That's my other podcast you can find me on. And we released the Mike Myers one this last week. So I don't know when the music one's going to come up, but I did a Brian name drop on the podcast. So.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No.
He's all scared.
Yeah. Nah. Whatever. If he says something inflammatory, I can go on there and back it up or confirm it. So.
I actually just used you as backup.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I said, Brian's not going to understand this. Like Brian is listening right now, just blinking, not understanding this.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Well, I guess, you've already kind of started doing the credit
I
stuff.
did.
So I guess let's just,
I just slid right into.
yeah,
You did.
just transition right there, I guess. If you want to continue the conversation with us, our website is crazylifepodcast.weebly.com. Our email is thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. You can find this show on Twitter at thecrazylifepod. You can find Jen on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can also find her other podcast called Shake the Sheets, which is a pop culture podcast. And you can find that wherever you find all your other podcasts or at shakethesheets.com. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami, or you can find my other podcast, Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, so please keep that in mind.
But it is funny.
I appreciate that.
Yes, it is.
Oh
I've
God!
listened to that one a few times
What
too.
were you guys riffing on this last week? Oh, what was it? Another superhero?
Cable?
Or no? Yes, it was Cable.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that was funny. Like that is Brian and Tony. That's Hobo Gulch. That's
Yeah.
how that's the legend.
Yeah. My favorite one we ever did was the Behind This Rusted Mask.
Yes, that's the best.
The
Yeah.
Doctor Doom one where
Yeah.
he's very low and everything.
Yeah.
And he basically
this was
cries
good.
inside his mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cable riffing was pretty darn good.
Yeah, see, that was always more how Tony and I would talk when we were at comic shops rather than do the, who's faster, the Flash or Superman or any of that garbage. We would just go into these stupid scenarios of, these people in regular life are doing various other things. So that was more our gimmick.
I'm
So-
remembering the specifics.
yeah, some of it's probably not safe for this show.
No, it's not for this show. No, you're
I
right.
have questions of the show.
Yeah,
That's
I
fair.
will. You'll want to listen to it. It's really funny,
Yeah, no
but I'll give you the synopsis.
Right. We are also part of the Tangent Bound Network, which is on network.com. And I think that's it for the links. Need help, please reach out. There's all sorts of stuff out there. There's support groups or whatever. Again, if money is an issue, There are support groups. There's, the crisis text lines. There's the suicide prevention hotline numbers. There's all these kind of things out there. There's Reddit groups. There's, a lot of places you can find some, like individuals and whatever. So please reach out. Just, even if it's your friends, family, that kind of thing, please, don't, I guess, don't let the stigma win, if possible. And of course, please check on your friends. We all got a lot of real heavy stuff on us right now. So please, just check in on people, make sure they're doing okay. Please take care of your, furry, four-legged type friends this weekend, since it is the 4th of July weekend, even though this will come out after that. Oh, wait, no, I'm putting it up tonight. What am I saying?
Awesome.
So, please, give them some extra pets and attention, since fireworks are apparently nonstop now. And ridiculous. But anyway, please be kind to each other and practice kindness when you can. And, be safe.
And what don't we worry about?
Yesterday's pizza.